Hey everyone, how's it going? I hope you're doing all right. I am exhausted. These videos that I've been doing recently since I've upgraded my computer are taking an hour and a half to 2 hours, maybe even more. And I'm staying up late and it's just kind of wearing on me a little bit. So uh, starting Monday, I said I was going to go back to the 2 videos a day, Monday through Friday. But if this is how long that it's taking, that's not going to be able to happen because it's just too much until I can figure out what's going on, which it has to be the video card. So I'm going to have to, it probably has higher settings since it's a better video card. But with my internet connection, I mean, I have, well, maybe not the highest speed that they have to offer, but if it's not the highest speed, it should be really kind of quick about it. So I mean, it's one of the highest speeds that they have. I don't know which one it is that they got, but I was thinking about what I wanted to do with these videos, and it's like I have a little series about oral hygiene. I think I mentioned this the other day, and it's like, you know what, I like it. I'm sorry I don't have a little bit more to say, but I rented out, or I put a unit out for rent on Monday, and the market is just crazy. And I got like 12 parties, people, families, 12 of them messaging me the first day within the first 2 hours, and showed it several times that first day. And one of them that I showed it to went through the process because it's all digital. You had to go and get online and go do all of that. And they brought the security deposit, signed the lease agreement right there. They fill out a second application that I have actually on me, and so then that just makes it a little bit easier to have a paper and a digital copy both. And it was gone like that. And I raised the rent a lot, and it's just, I was trying to go over everything, and yeah, anyways, that's always kind of a thing. And I did, and before I forget too, with my fasting, I cut my fast today. And it was because today I was feeling kind of bad. It was, I don't know, I just felt like that it was enough. So I also thought back to, I do enemas, and those first ones were really hard, and each time that I do one, it gets easier. So hopefully next week, this should be easier to do as well. And I'm going to keep this up until I get to the mid 160 range. And this is a good example, though, right here of one of those kind of video series that needs to be done, which is, this one is titled Woke Women Are Going Too Far. And what this is the Poor Man Podcaster Reacts here. Welcome to... Oh, I forgot what this is. This is some girl who's a singer, performer, or whatever, and she's dropped her drawers and she's peeing on a guy. People have always done stupid stuff, though. It's just, I'm old enough now that whenever I was in my 20s and 30s away from the family and was kind of, I guess you could say, exposed to more things, which, you know, is kind of understandable. You know, you're kind of protected inside your home with your parents there, and then whenever you leave, there's all of this stuff. And so you see it with every generation whenever they kind of are shocked whenever they see something like this, and they don't kind of realize it's like, they've had stuff like this before. It's not the first time. It's not the last time. Before this, maybe 10 years ago or so, if you want to see something really disgusting and gross, you can type in, I think it's called Two Girls in a Cup. And so it's at least 10 years old. And was it on YouTube? Because there used to be a time whenever YouTube just didn't, their restrictions were just almost non-existent. And basically it's two girls where they're doing this and more. And I don't know what else they're doing, but I never watched that damn thing. And it was like, why? It's like, I understand there are stupid, sick people out there.
earth. The fact that you just walk around thinking you've oppressed us is all we've done is legit chess pieces with you simpletons. I mean, we love you.
But it's not a man thing.
That's part of their trick, Ian. Wake up. That's all we do, Ian. Think.
Letting you think out.
This is funny. Oh, this is funny. It's a YouTuber reacting to a YouTuber with a YouTuber reacting. That's crazy. It's like I like doing this because I don't agree with Tim Pool with everything and with this person either. And I show other YouTubers, whether if they're professionals or not, which I like the whole spectrum from what just normal people are thinking to journalists, opinion people, which Tim's kind of both, to the professionals. Just to have a good rounded view of what's going on, so then that way I can make the best decisions. I mean, it's just like I always say, or you can look down in the description below, is that I'm wanting to bring the best, most accurate, up-to-date information presented to people so that they can make the best decisions possible. And that means understanding that I don't know everything and researching stuff, so...
The majority of college students are female right now, and they're saying they're the ones who are oppressed.
Facts.
They're the ones with the college degrees and are starting to make more money. If you look at the gender wage gap, it's not even real, and yet men are just like, okay, and they're trying to pass laws that keep empowering women.
Yeah, it goes back. It goes deeper than America.
Every king had a really, really smart, manipulative wife.
Or like 6 of them.
Yeah.
You honestly don't even...
or like 6 of them. Yeah, and it's because it's word games. They all get to lie. Because they'll say something along the lines of something that's true and false at the same time. Two totally different opposites can be true at the same time. So an example could be is that, well, we took a look at all the doctors in like the state of Texas, and we looked at all of the single doctors who are 40 and above, who are men and women, and we've seen that there's a gender pay gap. It's like, that's absolutely true. If that's the way that you do it, then that's what happens. There will produce a gender wage gap from that. But what about it was a lie? All of it. Because what do you mean by doctors? Because there's a difference between a pediatrician and a brain surgeon. What do you mean by single? Because there's a difference between a person who got married, had children, raised them, then got divorced, and they're working again. They're single, but they went through a divorce, and that's different versus someone who has never been married, never took a 10 to 15 year hiatus to raise children, and then are working now. Guess which one's the women's, which one's the men? What do you mean by, what was that other metric I was talking about? How much money that they make each year. Don't you mean how many hours that they work each year? Because it doesn't matter which field that they're working in, whether if it's secretaries, police officers, doctors, lawyers, men always work more. They will volunteer for overtime, and women do less than 40 hours a week annually or yearly speaking. So it's, yeah, of course, but that's what they do. And you really have to pay attention to what they're saying. And this has been going on forever. Thomas Sowell, 1983, with firing line with William F. Buckley Jr. That just happens. I've shown it before. I like it a lot because I like that clip to just show how long this ridiculousness has been going on. So I'm going to show quite a bit of this, I guess, and it'll probably get copyright claimed because you have to do it in like some stupid thing now where it's like 10 seconds and it's like, I don't care. But they're talking about black people and women and discrepancies with things, and this is just kind of the closer to the end of the segment.
Get to the best schools you can get them into as any other parent.
There are, of course, many children, particularly of high school age, who are totally disassociated from their parents.
That's true. I think that would be a considerably less than half too, to use your phrase.
I would like to, for a moment, ask you some questions about the economics of job getting in terms of the blacks versus the whites. The statistics I was able to pull together indicate At the present time, white males make 17,400.
I hope that's not too fast for people. That's the way because this just sounds like so many people take their time whenever they're talking about something, and whenever the videos are better put together, you would think that they'd be able to spit this stuff out. And then they just sit there and they'll have such the longest pauses. And I know I do that from time to time, but I don't try to video edit my stuff either, or prepare a speech. But if I can get this kind of little weekly kind of thing done with it kind of all wrapped up at the end, it's like that I think that I can do. And I was wanting to do it because it was like, I was thinking maybe we could start off with how to do a how-to video, because it's like I need to know how to do that too. And so yeah, I don't know, we'll see.
$127 on an average basis for the year. Black males make $12,738. White females make 10.
So that's what she's talking about. She's talking about how much they make a year, and not how much that they're working an hour or any other variable.
2,244. Black females make 9,476. It is.
And so, 9,046. You're talking 1983, and so that's yearly wages back then. I mean, I've talked to older gentlemen, and their wages back in the day, and that's it.
Clear from these figures, as indeed I think it's clear to most of us from what we see, that there is a discrimination against blacks and against women in our present system. Since not all blacks will be superior, how would you try to even that out so that there would be some equality of job opportunities?
I'm sorry you missed the early part of the program when I pointed out that where you find people not represented evenly, that does not show the institutional effect, because almost nowhere in human affairs do you find people evenly represented. If you compare,
and so that was something that he was talking about prior to this part within this segment, within this hour-long segment, and she just does not listen to Thomas Sowell at all. I don't know if she's just baffled, maybe that she thought because this was a black man and she was advocating for black people that he was just going to take her side for some reason and caught her off, or that she's just kind of some deranged leftist where she doesn't care about what's right or wrong because she has this attitude of I'm going to win and you're going to lose because you're not on my team and I got to beat the enemy team or something like that. It's like, I don't know, but I tell you what, it's just, here it is. Still, that doesn't matter whether if it was 1983 or 2022, it's the same kind of stupidity going on.
comparable people with respect to age, with respect to education, etc. You get a totally different picture, both with respect to blacks and women. Now, the figures I saw, for example, show more recently that if you take black families where the husband and wife are both college educated and compare them to white families where the husband and wife are both college educated, the black family is now earning $2,000 a year more. The problem is that very few blacks fall in that category.
Yeah, and he's going to say this is because they don't break down the variables, just like that I gave with my example. Is that, okay, doctors is really vague. You got to break that down. You need to be specific about what it is. You just can't lump everyone together into one category like this, into any categories whenever you're wanting specifics like this.
That when you compare category for category, then we're talking about getting people a decent education. I'm saying that you cannot say that numbers collected at the employer's place of business reflect simply the employer's policy. Those numbers reflect underlying conditions in the whole society, just as numbers collected in the hospital do not show you that people are sick because they're in the hospital.
No.
Yeah, and that's kind of interesting. It's kind of like right now with COVID, that they talk about all these hospitalizations, and it's like, well, so what? That doesn't mean anything, because if they just come in for something that's really light and just kind of routine, that's not the same as somebody who's in there, maybe they're on some kind of ventilator. It's like, that's not the same. You can say they're still in the hospital, but so I have another tenant that is a nurse and has told me that they were told to go through and to mark everyone down as potential my coronavirus infected. And it was because they got money from the government for doing that. They got extra stimulus money for having to deal with all of this stuff. And it was like, it was a sham. It was a scam. Getting screwed over. We're having to pay higher taxes for all this stuff because the government doesn't have this money. Where do they get it? They get it from taxpayers. And who's that? It's everyone who lives in America, because every time you buy something, there's taxes. Every time you sell something, there's taxes. You go out and you earn a wage, there's employment tax. So,
well, I would agree with that, but you would also have to agree that generally speaking, women are paid less, for example, for the same jobs as men.
No, I would not. I would not agree with that. If you're talking about women with the same number of years of experience, with the same continuous service, et cetera, then when I look at that, I don't find that disparity. I find, for example, in many cases, the women are making more, depending on how you break the data down.
And that's interesting too, that even back then, women, whenever you're comparing apples to apples, make more than the men do. And so whenever you actually look at like two doctors, whenever they are both actually brain surgeons, both a man and a woman who was a brain surgeon, where they were both never married and didn't stop working for 10 to 15 years because they did get married and have children. Whenever you actually find two that are as close as you can possibly get them, you find out that it's actually the women who are making more. It's not that they're not making as much as the men. They're making more. The problem is that women just aren't going out, being brain surgeons, passing up on being married and having children, and that they don't want to work 40 hours or more a week, that they don't want to do overtime. That they want all the benefits that the men have, but they don't want to make the changes themselves in order to get it. They want all of this extra money and seniority and praise for not doing what the men do. The men bust their butts for it. And
so with women is between married women and everybody else. That's the real difference.
Well, even as to single women, the Census Bureau statistics, the most recent ones I could find, 1978, say that single men are earning $11,100 and single women are earning $9,300.
Yes, I love the word single that is used. When I did my study, I didn't use single, I used never married. You see, a woman who is single at age 40, having spent 10 or 20 years raising children, is really not quite the same as a man at age 40 who's been working continuously for 20 years.
I think that's where I get my example from, was because he mentioned it. And it's because it's true. I mean, it's obvious those are not the same group. Those are two different sets of people that you're looking at.
And the differential society is not that great, so it could easily be accounted for that. But
yes, because when I break them down the other way, I did this for the academic world, and there I found the women who are never married, which is the way I take it. There they were earning more than the men. And similarly, when the government did data some years ago on women who've been working continuously since high school into their 30s, there you found they were making slightly more than men of the same description. So the difference is between married women and everybody else. And married men get an extra bonus because their wives take care of many things that enable them to put more time into their career.
I'm sure you're aware of it.
So in other words, what he's saying with that last little bit there is that usually whenever the man is making enough money to be able to support the family, it's pretty common for the woman to go ahead and stay at home and take care of things around the house. And then what that does is that frees up time for the man, so then that way he's able to stay on top of what his current field is kind of doing, which is obvious to see in some professions, for example, being doctors and lawyers and staying up with whatever current policies and procedures that they have out there. But whenever the woman is in that situation where she's able to make enough money to support the family, usually the guy doesn't want to do that. Usually he doesn't want to stay at home and he wants to go ahead and work too, no matter what the situation may be. And so because they're both working and no one's at home, then whenever they're both off, now they both have to split up the chores and taking care of the children, which eats away at their free time to be able to talk to colleagues, look at research papers, go over new policies, procedures, whatever. So that was what that little last bit was about.
The fact that there are approximately 15% of all homes in which there is only one wage earner. So that when you talk about women being able to take care of things for their married mate wage earner, the fact is that in the overwhelming majority of American homes, the women also work. And therefore, I don't think your explanation that women have other responsibilities and that that's why they are.
Work can mean part-time work or full-time work. Women do not.
Yeah, and so, here she is, this stupid, crazy leftist, using the wrong terminology, using this very general term to group in all of these people that don't belong in the same group. That you should not be putting people in who are part-time, who are full-time, with people who will work less than 40 hours, who will work a full 40 hours, and who will work overtime?
Not work full-time, the same set of men. Part-time workers make less than full-time workers.
May I ask a question about unemployment? The latest figures I saw indicated that of black youth, something like 46% of those who wanted jobs were unable to get jobs. I really would like this time to ask both of you to respond to what would
I don't know why she's smiling and happy about this at all. She's just being shot down left, right, and center over every single thing. And it's like, I don't know. And part of it too is that she's citing government figures with this stuff because they do this too. Republicans, Democrats, the whole system, that they're just completely doing it wrong.
to do in that situation? If you would assume for a moment that these are people who do want jobs and are unable to find work.
I would, first of all, repeal the minimum wage law. Because if you go back to, say, 1950, 1948, 49, 50, you find that at that time, the unemployment rate among black teenagers was a fraction of what it is today. And there certainly wasn't any less racism than there is today. What was different was that at that time, the minimum wage law was a decade old. It was a decade of inflation.
And this is another reason why I like listening to Thomas Sowell, is because he's been alive before many of these policies ever took effect. And he was an economist, and so he was researching and monitoring all of this stuff, and to notice correlations. Oh yes, you bring on the minimum wage and you raise it, and here's the effects of it. Because whenever he was young, they didn't have it.
And the law hadn't been changed. So for all practical purposes, it didn't exist.
Don't you think that was also a decade of expansion in which there were a lot of jobs, whereas today our economy is in a recession and there are not that many jobs?
If you look at the most prosperous years of the 60s and 70s, you don't find black teenage unemployment as low as it was in the recession year of 1949.
Well, I don't know what the job situation was then, but it's only recently that we have.
I was a black teenager in 1949.
Did you get a
job? It was a recession year, and after a considerable looking, I found a job. And the point is, the kid who was living where I lived then, who's living there now.
And something that history has shown us is that there's always more jobs. They're worried about vehicles that are going to be able to drive themselves and what this means for truckers. And this is something that has happened before whenever they were inventing these big machines to work in factories to start automating. They went around smashing the machines up because they were fearful of losing their jobs. And one of the things that happens is that it creates a whole bunch of new jobs that they never knew in the first place. And I'm an example of that, doing this right here, right now. Is that whenever I was in high school, there was no internet, there was no YouTube, there was none of this stuff. So they couldn't have said this. And they were preaching, I've heard it consistently throughout my life about being worried about jobs. And it's like, you should be doing everything in your power to create as many jobs as possible. Because the more jobs you have, then the more competition that there's going to be with employers to go out and get workers. And I tell you what, I do not care for one damn second for providing any business, any workers whatsoever. I'd rather everybody have control and be the boss, and people have their own businesses instead of working for someone else. I'll take that all night and day instead of a few conglomerate, huge mega corporations with all these workers. Screw that. That's just no.
He has a hell of a lot harder time finding that job because there are so many good people who try to do good for him and price him right out of the market.
Well, placing the situation as,
and that's just happened fairly recently too, within the past few years. We're in places like Seattle and California where they changed the minimum wage to $7.25 to $15 an hour, where all these people got fired. Just businesses in general just shut down because they couldn't hire or keep the staff that they had on. And so what good does it do to say, well, we want to provide a livable minimum wage for these people? Well, what good does that even do if that were true in the first place? If it was even true, you got to have a job first. So, but it's not true. It's an absolute lie. It's just people don't know what they're listening to whenever they hear these lies from these politicians.
And have to stop there. Women get in the club for free. Women get drinks for free. Women get free days. Women receive 63% less time when sentenced for the same crime. About 70% of the time is women filing for divorce, and 90% of the time they get custody.
And one of the reasons too why I also want to do all this, I've got a lot of reasons for all this stuff why I want to do this, is that I'm getting tired of hearing this. There is so much more to be doing with this. I wish I could just be building and creating things and just having a blast with it. I really like learning new stuff and seeing what I can make out of it. So like that gaming table that I'm going to make, it's like if we could just focus more on creating more opportunities for people, it would just explode. It would just, whenever you can just take video games and whenever they're given the chance to just be really creative with it, just children do crazy, insane things with video games and make stupid stuff just look absolutely amazing. Like Minecraft, it's just a stupid, simple little game, and it's like, damn, the things that they make out of that. Imagine if that's what we strived for with society and our economy, just making things just as cheap and as accessible as you want, not having this equal outcome, it's equal opportunity, because what people want to put into something is not the same as what other people want to put into it. The way that some of those kids want to play Minecraft is not the same as what others want to, but they shouldn't, that outcome should not be the same, because the only way that you can really make it the same is that you've got to lower the productivity and the standards of the people who really want to make something of it. Because you're not going to get these people to do more because they have the opportunity to do it now and they're not doing it. So why would that change? And it's the same thing with any other aspect of life.
The children. While women are making just as much as men, 97% of all of the alimony that's paid out is paid to women. Men have to do all of the dangerous jobs to keep society running.
There's a question I've had for a very long time, and it has to do with this map. This is a map of the 18 states in the U.S. where Democrats control the legislative and executive branches, or else have some veto-proof majority in the legislature. Democrats in D.C.
This is a good one. Liberal hypocrisy is fueling American inequality. Here's how. A New York Times opinion piece. And you know what's weird is that they label this as an opinion piece, and it's like, no, it's not. These are facts. These places do horribly. They're Democratic run all throughout the spectrum right there. And it's just same policies, same philosophies and mindset, and it's just garbage and horrible results. And he even brings it up, you know, and it's like, how do they state this as an opinion piece? Maybe they have to do that, though, for YouTube, so they don't get striked or banned, for all I know, I guess. So.
often blame the GOP for foiling the progressive vision.
When middle-class families see their taxes go up, they'll know Republicans are to blame.
But if you zoom into these 18 states, there's effectively no Republicans standing in the way. So my question is, what do Democrats actually do when they have all the power? To answer this question, I teamed up with...
Yeah, isn't that crazy? You know, Chuck Schumer, you know, I forget if he's from California or New York. I think it's New York. But regardless, either state, both of them, there's hardly any Republicans that are there. So it's like, what the hell are you talking about? There's nobody stopping you from doing any of this stuff. And whenever they do it, it never works out. Anyways, I have gotten through quite a few of these tabs off screen because it's like, I don't have the time for this. I want to stop this at 30 minutes too right now. And so we're getting pretty close. And so I'm just going to cut it off here, close the rest of these tabs, restart my computer, so hopefully everything will run a little bit smoother. And yeah, we're going to get into it because I don't want to watch a billion freaking episodes to learn about anything, whether if it's politics or my job or to just educate myself in something. I don't want it. I want up-to-date, accurate information all in one place, and I want to be able to know that this is a trusted source, and the way that you do it is that you have unlimited checks and balances in a sense. It's not by these stupid random people who you don't know as fact checkers. And it doesn't need to be this algorithm that's doing fact checks. It's kind of a little bit of both, where it needs to be an automated process where we can do, I don't want to give too much of it right there. There are some things I kind of want to keep close to the chest. So, but yeah, checks and balances like crazy, and the systems and the software they should be designed to help us put in the information and not this stupid algorithm that's supposed to monitor things for us, because it's never, no, it's just not, no. One of the problems is that there's just too many changes happening in too many places. It's just like how laws don't work because there's just too many variables. It's the same thing with this. And one of the problems is that as this gets more digital, we're able to look at more information than ever before because we've got a better collection of it. So along those lines. So yeah, this weekend I'm going to hopefully be able to find out how to make these downloads happen better, I hope. I'm going to start by taking a look at the graphics card or maybe some kind of settings on OBS Studio here to kind of lower the video quality a little bit, because I don't give a damn if you can see me clearly or not. That's not what this is about. It's showing me off or these other YouTube channels. It's about the information. And sometime this year, hopefully within the first 6 months, I can do some kind of, even though it might be some kind of simple, basic website, hopefully I can do that. I don't know anything about websites, especially designing or anything like that, but some of this stuff has been around long enough that it shouldn't be that difficult. And if I have to pay somebody a little bit of money to help get me going, then so be it. So, but it'll also depend on how many followers I have. And I don't know. We'll just see. But that is one thing that I would like to get done. So, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. Bye.